Hi everyone, it's great to see you. I am outside this morning. It's breezy, beautiful, the end of June. And around July 4th, that's when I feel like my hydrangeas are really in their prime. So it's almost that time. I wanted to share with you what I'm seeing, those hydrangeas that seem to be doing best, any struggles that I'm having with them, those that I recommend that maybe you plant so that you have some ideas when you head to your nursery what hydrangeas you might want to add to your gardens. So let's start down the end of the side yard pathway here. And the first hydrangea is Double Down. Now, Double Down has been a very reliable bloomer for me. Whether I have it in a bag or a pot or in the ground, it does a fabulous job. The blossoms aren't huge, they're about 5 inches across, and they have these beautiful little curved petals that start bigger and then get smaller in the center. Now, color-wise, I'd have to say this isn't the most fabulous color. This is about as deep pink as you're going to get, and it goes to sort of a lightish blue. So not real saturated, but you are looking that you're going to get blossoms pretty much no matter what. Even last year when we had that terrible late freeze, I had some blossoms on my Double Down. Over here we have Forever and Ever Heavenly Blue. Now, one thing I really like about Heavenly Blue is the size of the blossoms. So each individual little flower is a really good size, and the big flower ball here really does get to be quite large. Now, this one doesn't seem to have a ton of blossoms on it, which surprises me a bit because this is such a fabulous hydrangea year. I sort of expected this to be covered. Couple things that you need to realize for my garden. This is only the second year with this garden, so we really don't know how this plant is going to do in maturity. The other thing is I have not fertilized my side garden at all. We put in new topsoil with a lot of rich elements to it. When we actually did a soil test, it was super high on all nutrients. So they recommended no fertilizer for a couple years. So you're really seeing here how they are just doing on their own, which to me is a great thing. The other thing that you're going to notice on this side is that I have not added any soil acidifier. I have not added any lime. These are the colors that the hydrangeas just would naturally be in the soil. So down the road in a couple of years, if I want this one to be a little bit more blue, I might be adding that soil acidifier. But I'm getting sort of that baseline going here. Here are the next two hydrangea in line. This beauty here is Love. So much like Double Down, that starts with those little flowers with larger petals and then smaller and smaller in the center. This one does the same thing, but they're a little different shape. Notice how light this hydrangea is. So I only put this in last year. It is huge. The actual bush has really grown in 1 year, so I'm so pleased about that. And the color is going to be on the lighter side, whether it's pink or blue, it's staying very, very pastel. So consider that if you love those pastels, very, very light. As opposed to this hydrangea, which is Summer Crush, which is very saturated with color. Now, most of the time when you buy Summer Crush, it comes as a very deep pink. And this is the color that it's coloring to naturally in my garden. It's going to range from that very dark pink that you often see when you first plant it to more of a very saturated purpley blue. It doesn't really turn blue. It's that pink to deep purple blue. I love this though. To me, this just brings such a dynamic element. There are 3 Summer Crush bushes here. Look at how it just creates this swath of color. Summer Crush seems to be really reliable. Now, my first year with it, that it bloomed on its own, so I planted it actually 2 seasons ago, was pink when I planted it. Last year, I had a few blossoms on it. It does bloom on the new wood, so that's where we saw it. getting its flowers from, but this year covered in blooms, and I am loving it. So next in line is this very big, healthy looking hydrangea. This is Spike, but it doesn't have any flowers on it yet. Now it does have two blooms that are coming here. And looking at the tips, I think we're going to get some more. So keeping in mind now that Spike gets all these little ruffly flowerets on it. It's really, really pretty. It did bloom some last year. It looks like it loves this place. I'm not seeing any leaf burn on here. It looks really healthy. I think this is just a later hydrangea. So it'll be interesting to see how this does. I do like my flowers to bloom in succession. So it's great to have some on the earlier side and some on the later side. So I'm hoping that as some of the others are getting past and maybe I'm trimming off some of their blossoms that are fading, Spike is going to take center stage. And then we have these three gorgeous Rhythmic Blue. This is the Let's Dance series by proven winners. And Rhythmic Blue, I have to say, is pretty fabulous. So we do go all the way to a rich blue color. I have some in the pinks and purple. I'm loving how this is blooming with that variety of colors here. And they are huge mop heads. I mean, look at this one. Wow, that is amazing. So I'm thinking, boy, if you want a great hydrangea, and this one bloomed fabulously last year, even after a tough winter, Rhythmic Blue might be the way to go. So across on the other side of the path here, we have Forever and Ever Peppermint. Now, this hydrangea bloomed last year, but not like this. This is spectacular. Last year I had it planted over with Spike and I flip-flopped the two because this one was getting a little leaf burn. This is a little more shady. I don't see any leaf burn on it. It looks really, really good. This was a good place to move it. And the great thing about peppermint is this bicolored flower. Wow. I have some that are more blue. I have some that are more purple. I am loving it. It's just so distinct. And you're thinking this is the second year. I mean, it's grown a lot. It looks great. I would be tempted to put more of these in the garden. It has a very pale nondescript leaf. That's the only thing. It's not as rich a dark green as some of the others. But you know what? These flowers are just amazing. Right behind it, I have another love. I thought this was turtle toes. I had ordered it, and unfortunately, there was a mix-up in the tags. I have to say, though, that Mr. Maple refunded my money because they sent the wrong one, and how sweet of them. I love this hydrangea, too. I am not disappointed. Another love in the garden is always a good choice. Oh my goodness, I think we might have gotten to my favorite. I don't know. It's a close battle with a lot of these. I love them all so much. But this is Magical Ruby Red. And to me, the saturated color of this hydrangea is amazing. It is different than any other hydrangea that I have. Now, all of these hydrangeas that I've shown you so far are remontant in that they bloom on old wood and new wood. So last year, it didn't bloom at the beginning in the spring, but come August, September, it had a second flush of blooms blooming on the new growth. This year, with our mild winter, look at all of these blooms. Now, Magical Ruby Red, and if you can hear those blue jays, those are all the baby blue jays that have nested in our yard. They're very noisy. Magical Ruby Red is supposed to remain in the red continuum and not turn purple or blue no matter where you plant it. It might be more pink, it might be more red, but you're not going to find a blue hydrangea in Magical Ruby Red. So, you know, if you're looking for something like this, the actual mop heads don't get to be that big. These are probably about 4 to 5 inches. but the sheer number of them just gives this bush a really great impact in the garden. They also tend to be more upright. The Magical series, especially I find, was used for florist arrangements. So you're looking at those that are really nice for cut flowers too, and really sturdy. And then right behind me, I have Froggie, which I planted up the other day. So it's my third year with Froggie, which has these cute florets with speckled frog look. They're green to a light pink, and they're just coming in nicely. This is a more tender hydrangea. So it's in a planter because it does overwinter inside. It does not bloom on new growth. So you want to protect Froggie if you're in zone 6B a little bit. But you know, as long as I lift my bag out and put it in the shed, it gives a fabulous show. So we have Magical Ruby Red, we have Froggie, and across the way, we have even more. Over here I have one of my 2 Panicle Hydrangeas. This is berry white, and boy, it's looking great. Now, Panicle Hydrangeas love the sun. So you can tell that the florets are really going to be forming out where it gets the most sun. We'll see how it does. You know, last year, this one really flopped a lot for me. But until your panicles get much more mature, that often happens. So this year I put a peony ring, a support, that is holding up this about halfway down. I don't know if that's going to end up being enough to help it or not. We'll just have to see how it goes. And then in front of me, I have Glowing Embers. So I'm sorry, Glowing Embers, but you're a big disappointment. So Glowing Embers is one of those older hydrangeas. They are beautiful. They tend to be more on the pink side, but they do not bloom on new growth. And boy, we're really borderline for hardiness for them. So looking at this hydrangea with no buds set on, I would say that it's probably not a really good choice for this garden. You know, it looks healthy, it does give me the foliage, but I want the flowers. So, you know, Glowing Embers I give you this year, but if I don't see much, Glowing Embers might have to be rehomed. And I know that many people have great luck with Glowing Embers, and maybe it's worth it if every 10 years it looks really good. But I don't know, I tend to be pretty selective. Of course, being very selective, I managed to put this wonderful support to protect this weed all spring. Somehow this looked like something to me, and I wasn't sure what, so I figured I should protect it, and now I realize that I have been very, very careful with a nicely growing weed. So, hey, we all have our moments. We're going to move this way in the garden. Now, this is Golden Penny. You might think at first that it's sick and it has chlorosis, but it doesn't. This is the color leaf it is supposed to have. Those hydrangeas that end up with chlorosis and iron deficiency have yellow leaves and really dark green veining to them. And this one looks this way all the time. It is a highlight just for the foliage. Golden Penny is a relative of pennymac, which is one of those old varieties of hydrangea everybody loves. The difference is that it has these golden leaves. Now, this is supposed to be hardy to zone 7, whoops, as I sit on one of the trellises, and this did get some flowers. They're kind of located down here though, pretty far. There we go. They bloom on old wood, so you can tell that they're underneath down here a little protected, and we've had some growth up above. And their flowers, oh, let me push this aside for you here. They only get to be about 4 inches across. That's how big they're supposed to get. So I'm not really growing these for the magnificent flowers. I'm growing Golden Penny for the magnificent foliage. And I have to tell you, I like this so much. When I look down the path, it just catches my eye. I want another one down there. Oops, and I'm caught on my trellis. There we go. Okay, don't go anywhere. Whew. Up here, tucked in, I have a wee Bit Giddy. Now, wee Bit Giddy last year got really sunburnt because I had left it in its bag somewhere else. And I wasn't sure if this would be a good place or not, but it actually is doing okay. We have a few flowers, not blooming a ton, which really surprises me. But I think it could be because it's on the young side. It does look happy. It looks healthy. So wee Bit Giddy is going to stay there. I have others for you to see in the future. And then up here, we have Let's Dance Big Band. So you saw Let's Dance Rhythmic Blue. This is Let's Dance Big Band, and it is doing great too. It did great last year, even with that really weird cold snap. It doesn't get too big. It only gets to be about 2.5 feet tall, so it's a good one to have out towards the edge of the path. Lots of flowers. It's a little bit later than some of my other ones, but I'm loving the color, that pink color. You're also getting that real saturated look. It's one of the Let's Dance series, so we know that it's going to bloom on old and new wood. That's a keeper. Let's go on a little further. So these 3 hydrangea they're my favorites too. Oh my gosh, they're all my favorites. So this is Seaside Serenade Newport. And these are blooming a little bit later than everything else. This also gets a little bit more shade, so that could be impacting their bloom time too. But they're just starting to darken in. They are this rich, luminescent purple that when these darken, and I'll show you then because they are amazing, but there's tons of buds over them. They had tons of blossoms last year when we had the bad winter. I love them. They're also one of the smallest hydrangeas that you can get. So this is about as tall as they're going to be, and they just fit in anywhere you could use a hydrangea. I have to say, if you're looking for a small hydrangea and you want one that is reliable, boy, Seaside Serenade Newport, you can't do much better than that. And then right behind me is my second Panicle Hydrangea, and this one is Vanilla Strawberry. Vanilla Strawberry starts out white, turns pink. Now, once again, they really like sun. I can tell it's stretching this way to get more sun. I don't have any buds on it yet. So we're still kind of jury out on whether this is the place for it or not. I know it's the hydrangea for my yard. I just might have to find the right place. Last year, just like with Berry White, it drooped a lot. So just like with Berry White, this year I put one of those round peony stakes down in the center here to sort of hope that it's okay. Now, we've had some terrible torrential rainfall, and so far it's standing. It's really when it gets those big panicle blossoms on the end that if you have one of those torrential rainfalls, they tend to flop over. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Let's head across to the other side of the path. So here we have next generation pistachio. This is the first year that it's in the ground. I had it in a grow bag and it bloomed really well being overwintered inside. And when I looked at how hardy it was, I was like, you know, this should be okay in the ground. Well, it is okay. It's alive, which is good. For the longest time, no buds on it. I was like, ooh, I don't know. And now all of a sudden we're getting buds, which is great. It's going to be a later hydrangea though. So comparison to the others, we are just starting. They're baby florets. I can't wait to see how it comes because this blooms with the green and then with that either pink or purple around the edge. It's a real unique looking hydrangea. I think it is gorgeous. And you know, maybe I'll be really happy to have it on the later side, something to look forward to in my hydrangeas. Take a look at the one up here. Now this was a new hydrangea released last year. This is Starfield. Starfield looks like little clusters of stars. That's what makes this one unique. So just like Love had sort of the larger florets on the bottom and getting smaller, this does too, but they're more skinny, pointy, like little stars. Just adorable. I love how there's sort of some purple going into the pink. I'm not in love with the foliage. It's kind of regular hydrangea foliage, but It's looking good and it's blooming. It bloomed some last year. I would say that Starfield is a good, solid choice. One more to go. So here we have Cherry Explosion. I was going to say Cherry Burst. It's not Cherry Burst, it's Cherry Explosion. And this is the only lace cap that I have over here. Cherry Explosion, just like its name, sounds like it's supposed to stay in that red to pink zone. I don't have that many flowers on it, but I have to tell you, it's right next to our air conditioner unit. And I think that honestly, the hot air that's blown on it really affects it. So I'm just happy it is alive. So those are the hydrangea that are in bloom right now in my side garden. I am so pleased with how this garden has come. I'm going to show you the rest of the hydrangea in my yard. There are 27 hydrangea bushes just along this pathway. I love the variety. I love the colors. Hydrangeas are truly amazing. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.